What's up, family? Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back to another episode of Point of View. We have officially made it to June, which means we're wishing everyone a happy Pride Month. Hello, happy Pride. My goodness, be happy. Before we get started, we would like to welcome back to the table Willie Montague.
Hey,
Willie.
That's something you can clap for.
Okay, we have a lot to get into today. So coming up, Todd Chrisley is putting his part into good use, speaking out about racial injustice in prison for African-American men. Interesting. A conversation you don't want to miss. And later in Girlfriend's Guide, we've all heard of happy weight, right? But a new study says being in a settled relationship might actually cause weight gain. So come on in, join the discussion. And if you're watching us live, hop in the chat. We want to hear from you. You're watching Point of View. So last week we talked about reality TV star Todd Chrisley getting a pardon from President Donald Jerome Trump. Well, now he's speaking out, this time about the racial injustices he says he witnessed while being behind bars. Todd says Black inmates were often denied the same opportunities and programs he had access to. Now he's using his platform to call for prison reform and shine a light on what he calls a broken system. Let's take a look.
Anyone that says that it's a fair shake, it's not. Because I dealt with young African-American males in the prison that I was in that were not treated the same. They were denied programming. They were denied access to certain things. I was not denied that, but we know why I wasn't denied that. And so I think that that is a much bigger picture that we all as a society as a whole need to look at, that we are one. And whether you're Republican, Democrat, or whatever, at the end of the day, when you're in that hospital, you don't care if it's a Democrat treating you or a Republican. Now, some of you may, but I want whoever's going to be the best person to do that.
Of course you do, Todd. So I guess what I would like to know as fans of Todd Chrisley, how do you guys feel about him just coming out of prison and him saying that African Americans, weren't treated fairly, although we already know this?
What I would like to say is that I feel like Todd is using his platform wisely, as he always has. Maybe not according to unpopular opinion or popular opinion, whatever it may have you. But, Todd also has raised a Black child. I believe she's about 14 or 15 now, her whole entire life. One of his sons had a baby with a stripper, and they have raised that baby as their own and make sure that she's cultured as well. And so what I do want to say is I don't believe that God makes any mistakes at all, but I've always felt like Todd was a white person with a Black person on the inside, because, and it's just something I feel about country people, whether you're white or Black, there is a makeup and just some values that they have at their core. And I just feel like that's collectively amongst the people in the backwoods, and not the other ones that be on your side with it, but
Oh, you don't think they're one and the same?
No, they're not.
No. Okay.
Well, I would say this, that Todd Chrisley, while in prison, was writing to his daughter and gave several pieces of information to say how bad the systems were.
Okay.
And so what I would say with this is love it or hate it, that everyone doesn't get a platform like he has to be able to bring these injustices. And we as Black people are quick to say we need justice, prison reform, we need, Black power, we want that. And even though it's coming from the vessel we may not want, he's doing something and has the means and the eyes on him to get it done, which is through President Donald
Jerome Trump. Yes. What you want to say?
Well, I'm happy to see that he's using his platform. I don't know the Chrisleys. I don't know anything about them. But the fact that he's been in the system, and then he comes out and uses his platform to say this system is broken, this system is not fair, that him as a white man has been able to see that there's really likely less reform for others. And then we wonder, like, what's going on and why are these people in prison? They come out, and if they come out, then, you know, they shouldn't be out because this isn't happening. But they're not getting the programs. They're not being allowed to participate in the programs. And I'm glad that he's able to come out and show that, because hopefully his voice will ring out to those who are able to make a difference and who are able to make those programs available to people who really need it and who really want it.
Now, do y'all think that, dang, what was that lady's name? The cook that got locked up? Oh, yes. Do y'all remember when Martha Stewart got locked up and she was in like this like fancy, like her jail time experience was like a little bit more like
luxurious
country
yes
club.
Yes. Do y'all think that was the same for Todd, and like his influence on the outside made him have a better experience on the inside?
No, I don't think that at all.
You don't think if he was a regular white man that he would have got treated like a regular white man inside rather than...
I believe that there were people in there that probably knew who he was, but I mean, he is a celebrity in his own right for sure. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure those people in prison were not like, oh my God, Todd Chrisley is in here with us. You know, no, I don't think that was happening. And so I think that it, speaks volumes that he is using his, initial statements to even be talking about anything that has to do with Black people as a white man that was recently incarcerated unjustly, as he says.
You think that
I don't believe that they embezzled $30 million. And if they did, who taught them how to do it? The same people that locked them up?
Well, you know what? We hope that, Todd is really doing a great thing and it's not, pushing some sort of agenda. But we have to move on to our next story. And this one is a heartbreaking case out of South Africa. One that's been making headlines all over. A mother has just been sentenced to life in prison for allegedly selling her 6-year-old daughter, Jocelyn Smith, to a traditional healer. Authorities say it was for her eyes and skin. Lord have mercy. Jocelyn is still missing to this day, and the case has left both the nation and the world in complete shock. Now, I'm going to say this is a beautiful little girl, 6 years old, and she was sold for her skin
eyes and her skin.
And her eyes.
Lord.
I am beyond disgusted, but I just feel like, unfortunately, I feel like this is something that happens more often than not, and it just seems like every so often, there are stories that pop up and they shed light on it. But, what are they really doing about it?
Especially, they don't have the same laws we do in the United States, but
right.
Especially with that particular type of healer that it is, that is common practice for them to bring, because they have to bring some form of a sacrifice, and often it is children. And so we have a big issue in the United States with human trafficking, and even though this is a South African thing, it really, no laws here can really do anything. But I think I think she needs to be put in the streets and handled by a firing squad.
Lord, well, we have the definition of a traditional healer. This is someone who practices indigenous medicine and spiritual healing. They use natural remedies like herbs, rituals, and ancestral guidance to treat physical, mental, and spiritual illnesses. Some practices involve human body parts or rituals. Do we not think
this
that
is this is like...
I was going to say, do we not think that this has nothing to do with, Satanism?
It is.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It absolutely is, and that's what I'm saying. But she probably went to get something, probably some kind of promise that her life was going to be complete if she gave her daughter over, and that's just what it was. It was some exchange for that. Because remember, she sold the daughter,
right.
And I guarantee you it was something that she wanted
in return.
And I know plenty of stories of people that have done.
Well, they have this in the music business, in the entertainment business.
Yes.
They talk about the sacrificing. Maria,
right on the stage.
And
Maria Bonovich or something like that, who has done live art. She's considered a witch and have been doing sacrifices with the top entertainers that are being A-list.
So it's Beyonce. They say she a witch, but y'all not ready for that conversation.
Well, even Ayala, they say she a high priestess. What's the name? Ayala.
Oh, yes, I've heard that too.
Well, what about the kids that were missing and separated from their parents, during the immigration and, trying to, get rid of them? What happened to those kids? I mean, those
Right.
kids were missing. They're still missing. They haven't been able to put them together with their families. Like, what happened to those kids? We haven't heard anything about them crossing the border or anything.
Nor will we. I'm sure, a lot of this stuff, there's things that happen every single day that I don't know if it is to be considered the black market, but there is a lot of darkness in the world, and it's so sad to see. I kind of grew up, my parents are West Indian, so we grew up on those African movies. You can get 5 for $20 at the local beauty supply store in Boston, New York, all over the place. And so I often seen where people were trying to make a trade-off with one of these healers, or a voodoo priestess, whatever have you. And, for whether it's health, wealth, money, all these things. And what they don't understand is the main practice of what we learned in church growing up is that the devil does not play fair, and it will always cost you more than you're willing to pay, which we see in this situation, because I don't know whatever.
So
she
these
thought
are deals
she was
being
gonna
made with the
get.
devil.
100%.
But look at the movie
Yeah.
Get Out. I mean, they were like, doing a whole auction and they were getting rid of his eyes.
Yes.
And he's in the basement. He's getting ready to lose his eyes to a guy
Yes.
who's blind because he wants to be able to see art the way he sees it.
Yes.
And it's like, wow.
Look at the movie on Netflix.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
Yeah.
That was such a
I
great
gotta watch
movie.
it again. I remember loving it, but I don't remember it
Yes,
verbatim.
God, we were all so sad when Tuesday died.
No.
But do y'all think, now this is a really random question, do y'all think that what's been being said is that Aaliyah's parents sold her to R. Kelly? Do y'all believe that?
R. Kelly?
Yes.
No, I didn't hear that.
I said it
get
was
that
random.
from?
It was random.
R. Kelly?
Maybe not. Okay, we have to take a short commercial break, but don't move. We'll be right back with Girlfriend's Guide with Willie and Unpopular Opinion. Stay tuned. You're watching POV.
To our viewers at home that are sticking with us on social media during this quick commercial break, we have a question for you guys at home as well as for us at the table. What is your favorite old school saying?
I'm gonna tell you what's not my favorite.
Oh.
Go outside and grab me a stick.
Uh-oh.
Give me a switch.
Get that switch, honey, for that booty.
My grandmother was famous for saying go get a switch now.
Oh, my
Listen,
goodness.
I used to pick some good switches. My daddy told me that for my sister, but I'm a good thick one.
I was about to say, how do you pick a good one? Because the skinny ones hurt real bad and the thick ones hurt real bad too.
They all hurt. If you know how to wield them, baby, they all hurt.
I have a good one. This is one from my mom. If you see me in a fight, help the bear. And basically what she's saying, look, your help is so useless to me that if I'm in a situation, please don't even bother to help me. Just help the bear. Do that.
That's funny, man.
And if just because a dog bark don't mean you gotta run. So just because somebody coming at you saying something don't mean you always have to say something back. Sometimes it's good to just be silent.
You know,
Okay.
that's a smart analogy as well, because when you run, that's when that dog gonna bite you. But when you stand there and
gonna
see that
chase
dog
him.
in the face, baby, you might
That's
be all
right.
right.
You be like, halt!
You got one, Willie? We know you got a lot of old school
similar
sayings.
Do you have one?
into the
the dog, the bear?
is the old saying, if if the dog will bring you a bone, he'll carry one too.
Oh, there
So
you
that
go.
just
Do it.
people can bring you some stuff, but the
Yeah.
same thing they bring you, they take your business out there too.
Yeah, I think the young people, we need to start saying that one again, because they need to know it. They swear by these friends, baby. These ain't your friends. But anyways, if you guys have any favorite old school sayings, drop it in the comments. We'll be right back to the show.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is the part of the show where we get into all things love, relationship, life, and everything in between. Let's get into Girlfriend's Guide. Now let's talk about something a lot of us can relate to. That mysterious happy weight that seems to sneak up on you once you're all booed up and in love. A new study says people in long-term relationships are more likely to gain weight then they're single friends. I don't know if that's true. But the reason being is because once we feel secure, the pressure to look good can take a back seat. And suddenly it's matching hoodies and takeout every night. But here's the real tea. Is happy weight just a sign of emotional security, or are we letting our health slip in the name of love?
I definitely don't think it's a sign of emotional security. I feel like, when people are single, oftentimes, a lot of times you eat on the go. And then when you get in a relationship, that man is expecting you to cook. Now you're worried about, baby, what I'm going to eat when I come home. And I feel like it's that constant cooking that puts on the weight. It's not all that eating out, baby, because that ain't it.
I feel like it's both.
Me too.
Like I feel like you could be single and you can get happy weight just being single. Like you could just be so happy that you're single and
You
just
just
not out there.
overeating when you're single.
I'm just happy, and I just love food. So my happy weight really comes from food and a little bit of alcohol. But it really comes from food because I'm such a foodie. I really do love food. So, but also I do see what you're saying, Tally. Like cooking a lot, like cooking constantly. Like try cooking really 7 days a week, and just see what you're actually making and how much weight you actually put on by the end of the way. Because if you cooking like hearty meals, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, you're gonna put some on weight.
You got to be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you cooking a dinner,
a hearty dinner,
supposed to be, So even now, like in our household, when I want us to come down on the pounds, I slow down on the cooking. Like, baby, y'all might get 3 meals a week. Other than that, baby, y'all need to pray and go to sleep.
Well, can there be
not making them fast.
Can it be like a healthy balance and you create a routine for the whole family where you're working out together, you're eating together, not just cutting out meals?
In a perfect world, yes.
We need to cut out meals. They weren't eating this much in the Bible. They was having a little bit of wine
No, it
and
said
unleavened
eat
bread.
and be merry.
I am done.
Not every day. Not 3 times a day.
I think what happens is that when you boot up, that you feel comfortable. You feel like, okay, I'm with my person, and you're spending so much time together. That time together is spent watching shows, hopefully discussing things, just hanging out with each other, and then you're eating
And
doing
you eat
that.
a lot.
Yeah. And
So
then,
do
but
y'all
when you're
think that
single, you're moving around because you're looking this one, you're looking at that one. Yeah, you're moving around, but when you're with someone, you're there. It's like almost having stability.
Right.
That's what I think.
You think it's
got
that
a
emotional
question.
security?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
What about, what do we think about the people in relationships that maybe low-key be trying to fatten up their partner so nobody else don't want them? Because that be happening too.
No, stop it right
All right,
now.
stop
Who's
it.
doing that?
Yeah, when you be gaining all this weight and they don't want to tell you, baby, go to the gym because they just want you to be theirs and they want you to be ugly to everybody.
But then when you get
them
fat,
men be doing that,
then-
Willie. Tell the truth.
But then when you get fat,
Then when you fall over from a heart attack, then what they gonna do when you ain't
And not
there?
even just that, honey, because I be telling all my little cousins, sisters, friends, when they get in a relationship, they be gaining weight. The one thing I tell them, maybe it's an old school saying, I said, baby, go to the gym because men cheat for less.
Willie,
They
she
do.
said,
Men
tell the
cheat for
truth.
less.
Men do that?
they do. Do they cheat for less?
No, she said they fatten you up.
It may be some, but I would definitely not be trying to fatten up my leg. That would not be.
You would get in the gym with her. So if you saw your lady
get
friend
to the
getting a
gym
little
at least.
chunky, like would you stay with her? Like what if she didn't listen to you when you was like, baby, let's go to the gym, and she just kept on saying, oh, I'm gonna go when I get some time,
So
and she just
there
keep
would
eating
definitely
and
be
eating.
a weight limit that I will accept.
Well, what's the limit, honey?
You?
And then if that limit and she doesn't want to do anything, she's gonna have to go.
What's the limit?
You know
know
Willie,
what?
Give me a
that
number.
sound
Hold
ridiculous.
on, Tally. Give me a number. What's your number?
She shouldn't be able to go over 20 pounds.
I'm sorry?
20 pounds of what? From what? What's the weight and what's over?
The cat got your tongue, Willie? Because normally you be
Y'all have a lot of
Y'all trying to get my dog cancer.
I'm trying to figure out 20 pounds over what? Over her current weight that you meet her in?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So
You know what though? It
what's
always
the
be the
current
men
weight?
that have all of these stipulations that be walking around looking like a big fat guinea pig.
Yeah.
Hey, she wasn't talking about you. She wasn't talking about you, really. She wasn't talking about
That's
you.
how they be.
So, do you think society puts too much pressure on people, especially women, to look good all the time?
Yes.
I think so too.
I think it does.
especially with the pressure
But I
on
think
social
they
media
should.
too.
Yeah.
I think people should be presentable in what makes them happy.
Yes.
But I think
Not gonna
there
make you
should.
happy 'cause
I
you-
think there should be a standard for women to have that appeal.
I think men should also have
Especially
that
if you
same
go.
standard.
Well, we're talking about women now.
But I think that if you go outside, you need the hair bonnets and the tight little pajamas and stuff.
Okay, Monique.
Yo, put on some stuff, have that sexy appeal. Because most of these women today are so single that they can't find a one because they look like they wake up every single minute. They look like they're just getting out of bed.
Oh.
So if you would look like you're going somewhere in your life, you might be able to get somebody.
Oh, if you
Well,
look
you
like you're
know
going
you get
somewhere
on
in
my
your
nerves.
life,
What?
he
I'm
says,
just-
And you know you get on my nerves.
Well, I'm
too.
serious.
really stay dressed up, look nice.
Yeah.
Look like you're taking care of yourself and you're doing your
That's it,
grooming
'cause,
and
I
your
mean,
proper
seriously.
I absolutely
self-care.
think that when
Go into
people step
Walmart now
outside,
and see what you see out there.
I don't shop at Walmart often. I have to be an emergency for me to go inside of Walmart.
And you, yeah.
I'm in
But-
Walmart all the time.
I'm sure Tally be in there with her heels on probably. So I do agree. I do feel like people should absolutely, you know, dress presentable when they go out. Like, please, like, look your best. You never know who you're gonna run into when you're outside. Like,
Outside of relationship, just in general.
no, period. I'm
Especially
talking about
outside
period.
relationship,
I'm
that's
not
when you
talking
need
about
to
in a
find a man.
relationship. I'm talking about period. Anytime you step outside your front door, you never know who you're going to run into that day. But we got to move on. So we're going to switch things up and move right on into our final segment. Let's get into unpopular opinion. Okay, well, imagine this. You're a high school senior, your classes are done, prom is behind you, and you're just weeks away from graduation. But instead of walking the stage, you're being told you're no longer walking in God's light, all because of who you brought to prom. Emily Wright, a Georgia teen who says her private Christian school forced her to withdraw after she attended prom with her transgender boyfriend at an off-campus event that didn't even break school rules. Now, I just have a lot to say because my thing is, I feel like a lot of people have a problem with the transgender community, specifically not just the LGBTQIA plus community, but the trans part of that community specifically. I don't know why, because I feel like they're people too. But I feel like there's a huge disconnect from people in the trans community. I don't understand why this girl bringing her trans boyfriend to prom was an issue for her Christian school if it didn't break any rules.
Well, it did break a rule.
What was the rule?
A Christian private school, or private schools are not bound to the same laws as a public school.
Understood.
If that Christian school, most of every Christian school I've been a part of or have went to have what they call a statement of faith. In that statement of faith, it tells you we believe in God, the Father, the Holy Spirit, and then it goes through and it talks about man and woman.
Okay.
So that is something that was broken because
How long is
obviously.
that statement?
So what?
How long is that statement for the school? Do you know?
Those statements sometimes 2 or 3 pages.
But they said
Is that
it didn't
something
break
that they have to
rules.
sign to
No.
attend that
Rules.
school? That
Often,
statement?
yeah, even for my
Okay.
organization, I had to sign a statement of faith saying that I agree with their faith basis if I'm going to come under them because of their belief. And I had to accept what they're saying. Now, I am a Christian, and of course, I didn't have no problem signing it, but I do think that people need to realize it doesn't matter if they said it doesn't break a rule. It's a Christian private school. I believe that this was something to create a viral moment because you absolutely would not think that was okay to go inside of a Christian school during prom and bring a transgender
I'm
boyfriend.
trying to figure out why was
But
she
they
still
said it
allowed
didn't break
to attend school after prom and continue on to graduation, only to tell her that she's no longer walking in God's light once she gets there. Once she gets to the graduation, why not right at prom? Right after prom? Like, why? What was the wait?
I'm sure they probably
To
maybe
embarrass her?
didn't know at the time. I do feel like it is harsh, but at the end of the day, she was at a Christian school and she's supposed to, you know, go by the guidelines that she or her parents at some point agreed to.
But they
No
said
rules
it
were
didn't
broken,
break any
and that's the
rules.
point I'm trying to make
Willie
too.
just explained to the rule that was broken. We're
Yeah.
talking about a man.
He doesn't know
and
if that
a
was
woman.
he doesn't know for sure if
No,
that's
they're
the rule
saying-
at that school.
If it says that there was no rules broken,
They're saying
then
there's
they're
no-
saying there's no rules
Thank
broken.
you. That
They're
seems
saying
pretty clear
there's
to
no
me.
rules broken, probably because it was not ever a thought that a person But if you really, at that time, this is to answer your question after the fact, that when they probably looked at it and said, oh, wait a minute, that goes against our guidelines, we're going to unfortunately have to let you go because that is a rule. So according to an initial, maybe it wasn't a rule was broken because they never would think that someone would bring a transgender person. So they had to go back and say, oh, we need to start putting it in the stuff that we wrote, run out of time, in the stuff that when they came to me and we had our last board meeting, they said we have to start putting in our documents cisgender to make sure that the boys that come to our program are actually born boys. We should never have to do that.
No, I don't think so.
So, but now,
according to, if they identify as a boy, then you should treat them as a boy.
But are transgenders Christians too? Aren't transgender, gays, everybody, aren't they Christian too?
You can be Christian, you can be Christian, but whether you want to follow God's principles and His law is something different.
Yeah, that's something different. And that is also a wrap for today's show because this is too much for me. But before we sign off, we'll leave you with a quote of the day. You don't have to be anything but yourself to be worthy. That is Terena. I hope I said that right. Burke. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll catch you next time right here on Point of View, only on AfroTV.